guys sharing a microphone might be a problem. It's good. Don't be so rude, all right?
Okay, we're going to call the school board meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the flag.
Left, face, recess, colors.
To the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Air, colors. Left, face. Right up.
Okay, if we could call the roll. Here.
Mr. Moses?
Here.
Mr. Green? Here. Ms. Knox?
Here.
Mr. Richards? Here. Mr. DeRue? Here. Mr. Middlestate here.
At this time, I'll take a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I so move. Support?
All in favor? All opposed? Okay. We're going to move into tonight's presentation for board appreciation with Mr. McDonald and Ms. Kenward.
Good evening, board. It's my pleasure, along with Mrs. Kenward, to facilitate the board appreciation evening tonight. And we have some elementary, middle school, and high school students, some of our finest students here. And it's so nice to see them here in person and not a video like last year, to help us show appreciation. And we would, thank the parents and the students for coming out in such a cold night to help us. And I know that as we toured the buildings and talked to the principals and the families, it was real clear that we're blessed to have such a student-centered school board. And we are glad to have these students here with us to help show our appreciation. Sherry's going to introduce the students and describe some of the gifts that you have in front of you. Sherry?
At this time, we actually have a student from every elementary school and both of the middle schools. So at this time, if our students would like to come up and we can get you lined up and we can pass around the mic. Yep, we're going to line up here. We're going to face the board right now, and eventually we'll take a picture. So we have a T, we have an H. Where's our A? Awesome. And a K, and K, and then a Y, and then an O, and then a U. So I'm going to have them talk into the mic so you can hear them. So if you give me 1 second. Go.
Hi, my name's Cash Lang from Anchor Bay Middle School South, and I have the letter T to say that we are thankful for our Anchor Bay School Board.
Hi, I'm Aubrey Van from Anchor Bay Middle School North, and I have H, you have big hearts.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Crandall, and I go to McConnell Elementary School, and I have the letter A to say that you are all amazing.
Hi, I'm Gianna, and I'm from Lottie Schmidt Elementary School, and I have the letter N to say that you give us the necessary supplies and programs.
Hi, I'm Kendall Shiva from Great Oaks Elementary, and I have the letter K.
We appreciate your knowledge of Anchor Bay.
Hi, I'm Adam Pitzer from Lighthouse. You are rock.
Hi, I'm Brady Maxwell from Mildred Elementary, and I have O for outstanding job.
Hi, I am Gracie Genrich from Ashley Elementary, and I have the letter U for we appreciate your unconventional time you give Anchor Bay.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to have you stand here just for a second. And if I could have my 2 high school students come up. So in front of you tonight, you have some gifts of thank you for supporting all of our high school programs. Right now, we have Joey Moses and we have Sierra, and they're from the culinary arts programs, and they help bake you those delicious apple pies that are calorie-free, sugar-free, fat-free. And then also you have some notepads with your names on them. Those were done by the graphic arts department. And then you also received a jacket with the Anchor Bay logo on it, and that was done by our business department. And then we wanted to give you our Hosa shirts because our Hosa kids are going on to state competition. So you also have some Hosa shirts. So thank you guys so much for all your support and your dedication to our students here in Anchor Bay. And at this time, if all of you would come up, and we'll start the T this way and we'll go backwards. And then Joey and Sarah, you can join them and we can get some pictures. We're going to have you turn around. Once you go up to the top step, don't trip over this.
Yeah.
If the board could come behind them, we could get some great pictures.
All right, thank you. Once again, on behalf of the staff, Superintendent Jankowski, and our students and parents to the board, thank you so much for your hard work. And as you can see from our outstanding presenters, things are going well, and hopefully you enjoy some of the student-made gifts. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be able to see the kids back, coming to the meetings and seeing everybody here. It's great to hear from the kids, all the different age levels. So that was a wonderful presentation. Okay, we will move on to the superintendent's update, as well as he has our bond update for this month as well.
I left a sheet in front of you so you can kind of follow along. Thankfully, this week, our staffing is almost back to normal, where it's just, we're just stretched normally thin instead of like desperately thin. We have not had to double up almost any bus routes this week, which has been good. All of our administrators are back from COVID absences. We still have a handful of teachers that are out. Overall, the county case rate has declined from nearly 3,000 a day to around 800. It's been dropping about 25% a week over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Our cases are still slightly elevated from before Christmas. We were about 30, we'd fluctuate between 25 to 35 or so. And then we're sitting at about 55 per week, but the trend is still downward. The good thing is our positivity rate for the testing center. The county testing centers, it's still about 32%. That's down from about 43%. Our testing center, we're still about 10% positivity. We were over break about 30%, but the number of people who are being tested has dropped tremendously. That's dropped by about 75%. We were just around 100, or just over 100, and then now we're about 24, 25 a day. And then our student attendance rate is back solidly above 90%, which is good. And really like to thank the parents and students for the graciousness in adapting to changes, whether it's bus runs that we've had to bump around, field trips canceled, changes in the lunch menu because we've had issues even with our supplier, which had been going on, but we're again a little bit worse. And then and just with having 3 to 4 subs, some kids would have 3 to 4 subs a day, but we kind of made it through that. So we're looking really good going forward. That's basically the update because that's all we've been doing for is dealing with COVID since we've been back from break. On the bond, we wrapped up building visits. We met with the building principals and we brought those in to look at what's the commonalities that people are seeing. So they met with the architect, they met with the planning team, and we started talking about those larger things. Principals are working on the part of the usage and the maps for the usage study that we have to complete. And then we had a building and site committee meeting where we reviewed the timeline, the planning agreement, and we're beginning work on the enrollment study. We have to do a 5-year projection on our enrollment. The plan is to go to the state for approval in late May or early June. And then basically then it would go before the board at the end of June. And then we'll conduct further focus groups as we're going forward to prepare. And we'll bring in staff, students, community for additional input as we're working through that. And then our goal is to have another strategic planning meeting in late February or early March to kind of button all of that up. Any questions?
In regards to community input, and having a millage campaign, when do we go to whether the various organizations within the district and outside the district to start? I know we don't have our plans all put together yet, but is there a timeline where we want to get community input and community a campaign started on an information campaign?
Yeah, that'll basically start in June. Once we kind of have everything, this is what exactly is going to go into that, what other needs we have prioritized that, then we'll begin that process.
Okay, around June. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move to a hearing of the public. I have 2 submissions for tonight. I have Dawn Durkaz.
I wanted to speak tonight regarding the music program field trip before you voted on it. I realize that COVID has not left us. In fact, at this time of the year, it's at a high level. But Florida in May would be quite a different picture. Also, it will be in Michigan. I'm asking you to allow this field trip. However, I want to be clear. I do not need you to protect my children from its risk. My family already had the original variant, and many of us in the community have. It was much stronger than what we're seeing now. What I'm seeing now in children in my school community is cold-like symptoms, a sniffle, a sore throat, though I realize that it can be more serious for some. For most, youth that would be going on this trip, it would be very low risk. With my 3 children, when they had the stronger variant, one had a sore throat, one had a small tickle cough, one had a stuffy nose for a couple of days. For them, it's not as serious as it is for people with higher risk statuses. Over the course of the past couple of years of this pandemic, we've all had the opportunity to make our own choices. We vaccinated or we didn't. We chose to chaperone trips or we didn't. We wear masks or we don't. I feel we are free to make our own decisions based on our own comfort levels and risk factors. This is an optional trip. If people are afraid of the risks, they do not have to sign up. If they don't feel like they can take the risk as a chaperone, if their health could not manage, they don't have to sign up. So I'm asking you to not restrict this trip from my band-loving child due to COVID. I need you to let her live a little. Since COVID, so much has been taken from our teenagers. My daughter came home one day and I said, "Tell me about the most exciting part of your day." She said, "There was no exciting parts of my day." I said, "Oh, come on. You're in all these honors academy classes. Surely you did some wonderful science experiments or learned something amazing." She's like, "No, we don't really do science experiments. My teacher did one, but we weren't allowed to touch anything because of COVID." I said, "You can't think of anything exciting that happened?" She said, "Well, they had an Egg McMuffin at breakfast. I tried that." This is my daughter's day. I have 3 teenagers. This is their day. Their level of excitement is they tried an Egg McMuffin. My daughter has been to Disney several times, in fact, due to having my parents that live nearby. That's not what I care about. I do not care about them seeing Disney. What I care about is my teenagers making memories. They're halfway through high school and were robbed of their first 2 years. I want them to socialize. I want them to connect with other children. I want them to make lifelong memories that they'll think back of their high school years and think, "Wow, that was an awesome time," or "That was so much fun." Trips like these, for me, it's not about Disney, it's about connecting with their peers. So I'm asking you to allow me to make the decisions for my children on my level of comfort. I don't need you to protect them from COVID or my parental decisions on what's best for them. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have Jamie Petron.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Petron, and I've been the president of the Anchor Bay Education Association for the past 6 years. I'm here to thank the board and Superintendent Jankowski and his team for a professional, diligent, productive, and successful round of negotiations between the district and the ABEA. Our group ratified our newest agreement yesterday, and we look forward to finalization tonight with the blessing from all of you. I've been a member of the ABEA bargaining team since 2013. The amount of respect, collaboration, and problem-solving I experienced during this round of bargaining is unprecedented. Having a long-term agreement with stability and financial assurance for our members show that you value our work in the classrooms and that you respect our dedication to the district. Thank you, board, for your support, and thank you, Mr. Jankowski, for truly showing that it is indeed a new day in the Bay.
Thank you. I did receive one more for Jackie Eubanks.
Good evening. I would like to applaud the board for deciding to end the mask mandate this Friday, but I would like to chastise you for putting into place to begin with. We know that nearly all masks, with literally one exception, are completely ineffective at preventing the spread of the virus, a virus that children have a 99.9% chance of surviving. I recognize that the excuse given was that the county health department put this into place and the cases were going up, and wouldn't it be better to mandate masks than to close the schools? It has been literally 2 years. The virus is not going anywhere, and most of the children have already had it and fully recovered and have natural immunity, or they've been vaccinated, as have the teachers. But the children's health and development has suffered because of these mask mandates. Teachers can and have gotten the vaccine, so the masks are not for them. There's no need to mask the children. The masks trap bacteria in front of the child's face, increasing likelihood of bacterial pneumonia, much more deadly for children than COVID. It stunts children's ability to read lips, to process facial expressions, and to understand how to socially interact. It also is a distraction at school, and it separates children from one another, causing more isolation in this already isolating time. I would like to encourage you to never go back to mask mandates, despite what the county health department might say, and to consider the fact that it is damaging to children. And if you do decide in the future, because cases go up or because the county says so, to go back to mandating masks, I would like to inform you that I will file a lawsuit against you. Just keep that in mind. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I don't have any other submissions, so we will move on to communications.
One communication, it is another person with interest in purchasing some property that we have. I just want to include this as just to make the board aware, because when they address these, they address it to the board. So at this time, because we're still going through strategic planning, we would not entertain this offer until we're set, but I just want to make sure that we enter it into the record.
Any questions?
What property was that?
This is the one, what is it, the Heatherwood, by the Heatherwood subdivision, around 24 Mile.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which tonight includes approval of minutes from the December 15th regular meeting, the personnel report, the financial report, and the bills payable for December of 21. Is there a motion for this recommendation?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? I will second. Any discussion? Go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Moses.
Yes.
Ms. Knox.
Yes.
Ms. Burkmeyer.
Yes.
Mr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Richards.
Yes.
Mr. DeRue.
Yes.
Mr. Middlestate, yes.
Okay, motion passes. We'll move it to new business. So tonight, as you might remember, if you followed in August, we had an organizational meeting. The board's intent was to begin moving these meetings to the January, which would be now. So when we did the organizational meeting in August, basically we knew that we were only doing it for the couple of months, and then we were going to re-up our board officers and our reauthorizations of various things that we do yearly at this time. So that said, I'm gonna take a motion, if somebody would like to make a motion to elect a chairperson pro tem to conduct the election of board officers.
I move that Ms. Burkmeyer be the chairman pro tem for the elections purposes.
Is there support? Support. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. Okay, so at this point, I will open the floor if somebody would like to make a motion regarding, either we'll start with the president's role.
Madam Chairman, I would like to propose, again, as I did before, that things have been running fairly smoothly, that we propose a slate of the current officers go forward.
So that would include,
Mr.
excuse me.
Meyer, Mr. Green, myself, and Mr. DeRue.
So that was myself as president, Mr. Green as vice president, Mr. Middlestat as secretary, and Mr. DeRue as treasurer. Is there a second for that motion? Okay, with no second, I will reopen the floor. If anybody would like to either make another motion for a slate or to start with the president's role.
I would make a motion for a different slate than proposed by Mr. Middlestat. That would include Ms. Birkmeyer as president, Mr. Green as vice president, Ms. Knox as secretary, and Mr. Richards as the treasurer.
Let me just write that.
Second.
All right, so the motion is for myself as president, Mr. Green as vice president, Ms. Knox as secretary, and Mr. Richards as treasurer, seconded by Mr. DeRue. Any discussion? Go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. DeRue,
Yes.
Ms. Birkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Ms. Knox,
Yes.
Mr. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Middlestat, yes.
Okay, motion passes. The next item is establishment of the regular meeting dates. The board was given, basically, for the public, it would maintain a once-a-month meeting, usually near the end of the month, in about the third or fourth week. There is an additional board workshop at 9 o'clock for February 12th added. That would be a Saturday. That was added for bond work preparation prior to the February meeting, knowing that our bond timeline as we have it for the fall of this year. Mr. Jankowski and I needed to get moving and get the board together on an additional date to kind of go through things and start having some discussion on the wants and needs of the district. So that was the date proposed that we set up. Other than that, it's remains one meeting a month, absent of July, until next January of 23, when it would be another organizational meeting at that time. Is there a motion to accept this meeting schedule?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next is the establishment of the board standing committees and legislative members. So the board has various committees, including finance, building and site, curriculum, policy, technology, that meet at regular intervals and report back to the board for future action. So the recommendation is that we approve and appoint members to these standing committees and legislative groups. My intention as president would be to maintain them as they are. For full disclosure. So do we have a motion to accept that recommendation?
I'll make a motion.
I will second. Any discussion?
Madam President, if you could, following the meeting, get those committees sent back out to everybody, just so we're all on the same page, that would be great.
Sure. Any other? All in favor?
Can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Redo the things.
Ms. Birkmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Moses,
Yes.
Mr. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Richards,
Yes.
Mr. DeRue,
Yes.
Mr. Middlestat,
No.
Ms. Knox, yes.
Okay, motion passes. The next is the reauthorization resolution. So annually, the board must reauthorize various roles for administration to maintain our operations. That includes that Comerica, Fifth Third, Bank of New York, and US Bank is hereby designated as the depository for district funds. The signature authorization recommendation on financial matters is for payroll checks, the superintendent and assistant superintendent. Accounts payable checks, all funds, the superintendent and assistant superintendent. That Robin Randazzo, Director of Business Services, is designated as the electronic transfers officer to perform those functions and responsibilities described by board policy or law. That Todd Rathbund, Assistant Superintendent, is designated as the administrator to assume responsibilities of acquiring, awarding, and rejecting formal and bond construction bids as required by law. That Miller Johnson, Troon Law Firm, and Seacrest are hereby designated as legal counsel to the board. That Raymond is hereby designated as auditor of the board. That Todd Rathbund, Assistant Superintendent, is designated to HIPAA Compliance Office. That Phil Jankowski, Superintendent, is designated as FOIA Coordinator. That Dave Boschool, Assistant High School Principal, is designated as School Safety Liaison. That Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors LLC is designated as financial advisor to the board, and that all resolution and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution be and the same hereby rescinded. Is there a motion to accept this recommendation to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Support?
Discussion?
Got a question, the Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors, are they the ones we've always had, or is they?
That's who we've had before, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's no changes to the current.
As far as I understand, no, this is not a change
No,
from
yeah,
what
this
we've
is-
had going
we
since
just-
the fall.
In order to kind of maintain everything, we kept everything the same as August, and then because there were otherwise from August to January, you wouldn't have it, so just reauthorizing everything.
That was my question. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Now we have the second reading of policy. So these policies are administration regulations 2007 involving DNR orders, 4002 criminal background checks, and 7,000 school community relations. So the recommendation was that the board adopt these policies that I listed as presented as a second reading tonight. Is there a motion to accept the second reading of these policies?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We will move on to a second reading of the superintendent evaluation participation policy. So as we mentioned in previous meetings, after consultation with MASB and legal counsel Miller Johnson, it was advised that the board enact practices consistent with MCL 380-1249B that requires individuals who evaluate administrators must be trained on the tool before providing input. So the recommendation is that the board approve the policy that consistent with state law, board members must complete all training for MASB superintendent eval to have his or her ratings included in the calculations for input. All board members, regardless of whether they are trained or not, may vote on the approval of the final evaluation. Is there a motion to accept this recommended policy?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have an award recommendation from the 2017 bond for Wi-Fi networks for the elementary schools. So a longstanding desire of teachers and administration for each building to have full Wi-Fi. The bid package that was presented to you would complete the addition of Wi-Fi at our elementary buildings. So the recommendation is that the board award that network switches and wiring package to People Driven Technology in the amount of $143,487.30. And the Wi-Fi access points package to Ahead in the Cloud in the amount of $174,227.69. Is there a motion to accept this award recommendation?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
I just want to be clear, Madam President, that the amount being awarded for the network switches and wiring to People Driven Technology is in the amount of $143,487.30.
Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have a recommendation for portable column lifts. The district received bids on December 20th of 2021 for portable column lifts. These lifts will be used in our transportation garage, replacing one of our hydraulic lift stations that's no longer able to be used. The lifts are portable and wireless, allowing for greater flexibility for vehicle repairs. Corey Wiley, maintenance supervisor, and both bus mechanics have reviewed the bids and completed post-bid assessments, and it's recommended to purchase the portable columns and lift attachments from Dow's Equipment. So the recommendation is that the board award Dow's Equipment the bid for 4 portable column lifts and lift attachment kit in the amount of $40,920.09. Is there a motion to accept this recommendation?
I'll make a motion.
Is there support?
I'll support.
Any discussion?
Is this for 4 individual lifts or is this for 4 sets of lifts?
It's for one set of 4. Okay, it's for one set of 4.
One set of 4, and they're for buses, or are they for White Fleet?
For buses and for our maintenance vehicles as well. So
Okay.
they'll be able to use for both.
Thank you.
I do have one more question. If this is passed, do we have a timeline when we would receive the list?
8 to 10 weeks.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And then next, we also have a recommendation for air purifiers. The maintenance supervisor, Corey Wiley, has reviewed the bids, completed post-bid assessments. It's the recommendation to purchase a total of 35 units from Smarter HEPA at the total cost of $30,798.25. Our bid specification required an airflow of 800 CFMs. The unit provided in the bid provided by the lowest bidder, Schiffler, has an airflow of 173 CFMs. In addition, the model presented by Schiffler is rated for 754 square feet. The model being recommended to the board is rated for 2,550 square feet and will provide 10.2 clean air exchanges per hour. These units will provide additional air exchanges in larger capacity areas of our buildings. The units are portable and can be easily moved as necessary. So the recommendation is that the board awards Smarter HEPA the bid for 35 air purifiers in the amount of $30,798.25. Is there a motion to accept this recommendation?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I do have a couple of questions. So these are portable units. Do we know if there's going to be any distractions noise-wise?
They're actually pretty quiet, but where we're putting them would be your commons, the gyms, the band room. So not a typical classroom. It's gonna be your larger spaces.
Thank you.
How confident are you that they can do that in 7 days?
When
Everyone
I-
else is like weeks out and they're 7
So,
days.
we had a discussion prior to Christmas that this was gonna go to the board for recommendation for this month. So they've actually put 35 aside for us in the hopes that it would be approved tonight. So I'm confident within 10 days we should have them.
Well, thank you for doing that. It's great to have a relationship with the vendor where they'll do that for us.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have the Hosa, BPA, and Deca field trips. So Hosa state competition is February 24th at Grand Traverse Resort in Traverse City. BPA, or Business Professionals of America's regional competition, March 10th through 13th at the Amway Grand and DeVos Convention Center in Grand Rapids. And Deca state competition is March 10th to 13th, also in downtown Detroit. So the recommendation is that the board approve the Hosa, BPA, and Deca field trips as presented. Is there a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And we have the music department field trips. So the annual jazz ensemble, Red Como and White Combo CMU Jazz Weekend Competition on February 10th and 11th. This is the 25th time that Anchor Bay High School Jazz Ensemble will be attending this prestigious event, and in 4 previous years have been awarded Best Overall Band at the festival. Biannual Spring Instrument Music Trip to Orlando, Florida to perform and take part in clinics at Walt Disney World, May 18th to 22nd. This trip was approved and canceled for last year. So the recommended action is that the board approve both the jazz ensemble trip to CMU and the biannual spring music trip to Florida for May as presented. Motion to approve. I'll take Ms. Knox's motion. You second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have a planning agreement. So the Building and Site Committee recently met and reviewed the timeline and planning agreement for a potential bond program. Based on the short timeline and the scope of work entailed, the recommendation is to continue with our longstanding bond team of Barton Mallow and their partners, French and Associates. The planning agreement would not cost the district anything should we not proceed with the bond or should the bond not pass. The agreement is with Barton Mallow as construction manager and includes French and Associates as architect and consultant. So the recommendation is that the board approve the bond planning agreement as presented. Is there a motion to accept that recommendation?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll make the second.
Any discussion?
Where does it say anything in the agreement about French as being the architect? Wouldn't we have a separate agreement with the architect and the
It's on page 3.
manager? Pardon me?
There's
It
a
says-
section that says architectural and engineering services.
Yeah. Says the agreement includes the services of French Associates,
What page is that on?
page 3.
I don't know, mine aren't numbered, but.
Yeah, sorry.
It's like the third
it's not that
page.
number.
So is the contract with just Bart Mallow with, and they're subbing out French, or is it separate contracts with French and?
It's one contract with Barton and with French as working with them, yes.
So for French is the subcontractor then?
Yes.
I don't agree with that.
Reason in particular?
No, we always have the architect's always separate from the construction manager, particularly in bond development. In fact, the architect's usually the lead and the construction manager is the support until the actual bond is passed, and then the construction manager comes in. So.
Yeah, according, and again, I wasn't here for the last one. This is how it was done on the previous ones.
Yeah, that's right.
Any other discussion? Go ahead and call the roll. Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Ms. Berkmeyer? Yes. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. DeRue?
No.
Mr. Middlestat?
No, let the record show that I believe that we should have had the Prince Associates should have a separate contract with requirements and definition of what the deliverables would be.
Ms. Knox, yes.
It's crazy.
Okay, motion passes. Then we have the Anchor Bay High School Student Council field trip. The student council will be traveling to the MASC MAHS State Conference February 26th and 27th at the Amway Grand Hotel in Grand Rapids. We have 9 students and 2 chaperones who are teachers will be attending. So the recommendation is that the board approve the high school student council to attend the state conference on the 26th and 27th. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved. I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, so we'll move into our points of pride and board comments. So let's start with Mr. Richards.
Thank you. I'd like to congratulate the Anchor Bay Hosa Club that has 24 students moving on to compete in the Hosa State competition on February 24th and 25th. I'd like to thank Ms. McQueen's Child Development and Teacher Cadet class for hosting a diaper and wipe drive. Over 200 diapers and wipes were collected and donated to the Anchor Bay Foster Closet. I'd like to congratulate Ms. O'Cray, Ms. Garth, Mr. Dot, and Ms. Lexmore on being honored as Star Tar Positive Teachers at the high school. I'd like to let everyone know that Anchor Bay is still hiring. We have full-time and sub-custodian positions, food services, transportation openings, as well as openings at the Aquatic Center. Congratulations to the 8 Deca students from the high school who competed at the Michigan Deca State Career Development Conference at Lake Orion High School. They now move on to compete in March in Detroit at States for a shot at nationals. School of choice for Anchor Bay is still open until January 28th. Please come to our wonderful district. I'd like to congratulate the Anchor Bay Business Professionals of America chapter that competed at regionals and had multiple members advancing to the state competition at Michigan's Grand Rapids State Conference in March. Attention to all seniors, the Anchor Bay Community Foundation scholarships are now open. The due date this year is April 14th. I'd like to thank everyone who participated in the Taste of Music Taste Fest. It was a great event, and thank you to all the restaurants that participated. Congratulations to the students and marching band that participated in the District 16 solo ensemble and received excellent ratings. Congratulations to our middle school dance team, first place regional champions. I'd like to congratulate Anchor Bay cheer team for taking first place at the MAC crossover competitive cheer event. I'd like to congratulate the December Student Athlete of the Month, Riley Walsh. I would like to thank the entire staff that participated in the walkarounds for the building and site visits. We have a lot of work ahead of us and a lot of concerns to be addressed. Thank you for your time. My points of pride this month, I'd like to recognize Coach Polowitz and the lacrosse team for putting together care packages for men and women in different branches of the United States Armed Forces. Awesome job. Thank you.
In addition to everything Mr. Richards said, I also wanted to say that I appreciated how Mr. Jankowski handled our return to school with regard to the weekly updates he provided the board. They were over the top comprehensive sometimes, and we got to really get a feel for what was going on and how much our teachers, staff, transportation, everybody was chipping in to make sure that our kids stayed in school. So I just want to say I appreciate that. Everybody has been an MVP lately. And so that's about it for me.
I also want to send some love out to all the restaurants that came out for the band function. It was well attended. I think there were over 350 people that were here, and probably 30 restaurants. And I think Amy K. Allen was the one who organized. She did a great job. I did, of course, tell her that she needs to have a 50-50 raffle because you got to get people when their bellies are full and they're stuck in the table and hit them up for cash in their wallet. So I did share that with her. And also I've had a couple of inquiries. So as cautiously as I can make a public announcement, our previous administrator's separation agreement has expired. He is no longer on our payroll receiving our benefits. And as a result, that should lead to about an additional $250,000 or more in, I guess, additional income, if you will, or less expenses as we move forward for this year.
Just really want to say thank you. I know it's, I don't know if, I appreciate the board appreciation. I know it sounds weird, but you know, I'm not sure I'm always deserving of as much appreciation as we got. So thank you all very much. And again, just to go along with everybody else, I'm going to say what everybody knows. Anchor Bay is the best place to be, and I'm glad we're here. So.
I'll be nice and short. Have a good night, everyone.
Just appreciate the children and parents coming out to honor us tonight. It's always a positive thing for us to have students come in front of us, and we appreciate their giving us these nice gifts. So, thanks.
I just want to reiterate my thanks to the staff and the students, particularly that were here tonight, but just everybody, as was said, that's been pitching in. These last couple of weeks, we're running a little thin with some systems and staffing with COVID, but we were able to persevere, and I think we were able to do it fairly well. So I appreciate everybody's input and the help that everybody was able to give to make that successful. Okay, do we have legislative update?
Yeah, just one item, because they've been off on a little bit of extended break for a bit because they were hit by COVID, so the House was out of session. But the big news was they did the revenue estimating conference, so that came back very positive for the state, especially the school aid fund. The interesting part of that is it's a little different in that normally when there was a gap between your lowest funded districts and your highest funded, they would do what was a 2x formula. So those who were lowest funded, like Anchor Bay, you would get 2 times the amount in order to kind of close the gap. And last year they were able to kind of level that. So at least everybody's at the same well, not everybody, probably 80% of the districts have the same foundation allowance. And then they had categoricals on top of that. Now they actually have an interesting opportunity because there's legacy costs that they've been carrying for several years. These are pensions, liabilities. This is healthcare liabilities, things like that. They go into when, if you recall, when they did the audit and they did that presentation, those are those, the unaccrued liabilities that are there. So they can kind of take two approaches to this. They could either add to the state foundational allowance, and if they do that, so that gets you so far, but they would actually be a little bit better to kind of take both approaches, where they could increase the foundation allowance, but then use some of those one-time funds that they have to pay down, and you'd actually see a better offset for most districts. I would say about 75% of districts would be in that boat, where, so for example, they can, those unfunded liabilities that they have out there, it's for about 84 million, they could bring that down 1% for every district. So that would equate to $70 in less costs. Whereas if they were to take that 84 million and to add it to the foundational allowance, they would only, it would add about $50, about $56. So you have an advantage there that if they get creative and they were to do that, it would be the better strategy and would actually save us more on our costs, therefore putting more in the classrooms rather than letting those costs continue to accumulate. So that's really the opportunity that they have. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. They'll release the budget probably the first, you'll see part of it obviously tonight, and then the rest of it will come out probably in the next week or so from the governors, and then you'll see the House and the Senate will do that. But that's just something that I would think is a great idea if they were to take advantage of that, where it's very rare that you get kind of a multiplier like that, where you can pay that down and save districts more money, and we'd be better in the long run on that regard.
Okay. And then I believe the Building and Finance Committee has been meeting, and we're doing a bunch of walkthroughs for the last couple of weeks in preparation for the bond. I don't know if any of you on that committee want to speak towards that.
I can talk a little bit about the building walkarounds. I attended most of the schools, high school. In particular, there's a lot of concerns, with the walkarounds. So it was very eye-opening. And, one thing that I want to remind everyone as we, work through these next couple of weeks, the age of some of our buildings too. There's just, a lot needs to be done. It's very, very concerning.
I wish everybody could see.
I don't think you might.
Sorry. I just wish everybody could have seen the presentation that we received in that board committee meeting. I think it might have eased some of the questions that were up here. They did a real thorough job. We sat on a meeting with engineers. Was there 9-10 people in that meeting besides us? And it was extremely thorough. I don't think any stone was unturned. So I think it was a rush process. We had to get it through fast. And I think it's a good thing that we're going to be able to do a lot of these things that people need, that these buildings absolutely need. So.
Yeah, and I think it's good too this time around, the amount of staff we have involved in it. We were here one day when all the school principals came and, sat down with us and went through different things. And, it was good to see the teamwork involved and the time that they put together to work with us but it's concerning when, we have some bathrooms at some of our elementary school that have been there since the building was built. So it's just, it was very eye-opening.
Okay, and the last item we have is a closed session to convene in closed session to discuss labor negotiations under Open Meetings Act 8C. Is there, and just for the public's knowledge, after that, there's no planned any further discussion or anything on the agenda to take place. It would just be adjournment. So is there a motion to convene for closed session?
So moved.
Is there a second? Take Mike. Discussion? All in favor?
It's a
Roll call.
Okay. Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Ms. Burkmeyer? Yes. Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. DeRue?
No.
Mr. Middlestat?
No, let the record show that I don't see there any reason to go on executive session that we can't talk about it in front of the public. It's all the information we're going to discuss is on the street already, so it doesn't really, to me, it doesn't make any sense to go in executive sessions.
Motion passes. Okay, we are back from closed session. I will take a motion to return.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. So contrary to what I said before going into closed session, we did have the ABEA negotiation had concluded and the teachers had ratified their contract. So we actually have the opportunity to approve their contract as was presented to us.
Madam President,
Yes.
can I make a motion to amend tonight's agenda to include a motion to approve the ABEA contract as presented?
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. So as I said, we have the ABEA contract that was ratified by the membership yesterday and it was presented to us for review. And so I can entertain a motion to approve the contract with the ABEA that begins from 2021 to 2027 as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion?
Just want to get a comment. District's been fortunate that the state has come through with more per pupil funding and looks like it's projected. As a result of the COVID situation, we were able to get some additional funding and there's different grants in that. So in this case, where in the past we were unable to do a lot of things, we've gotten a little bit more financially. It's unfortunate for COVID, but from the standpoint of financially, we were able to provide additional funds. This contract, my only concern is the contract goes out to 2027 and we have to, I don't say guess, but we have to project that far out to pay for this contract. It does, in terms of budget, we need to reduce several teachers, 15, 17 teachers, at least the budget projections to make this work. So my only concern is that with reduction of staff and then class sizes and having to make projections that far out that certainly next year with the re-election going on, that people are going to be walking over each other to give us money. But after that fact, in the past, it's difficult to project that far out, but all indications, the superintendent has indicated several areas that we feel that we were able to do this thing. So I'm just, there is a lot of risk for projecting out 5 years, both student enrollment and state payments, whatever. So that would be our only reservation on this contract. But again, we made a lot of adjustments here to provide some stability, and that's a positive thing. And some of the adding the steps and smoothing them out affected employees differently. Some benefited a lot, some not so much, but again, my only reservation is that we have to reduce staff and really watch our budget going forward. So that's just my comments for the record.
Madam President, they did ratify this agreement, correct?
Yes.
Just to add on to Steve's point, I mean, obviously being on this board, starting the 4th year now, it is nice to see that we can, offer this type of a raise, these type of raises to the teachers. They definitely deserve it. I want to commend this, new superintendent Phil and Mr. Jankowski and the rest of the school's negotiating team for all the work you put into this. And it is, hard to look at that going out 5 years. It's a little, I don't want to say risky because I mean, these guys have been doing this a long time, but school budgets and school finance, and maybe that's the one good thing, as Mr. Mendelstadt mentioned, to come out of COVID is that we're able to actually get funded like we're supposed to. My only issue with this is I know the rest of the board is I'm against tiered contracts, but if that's what it takes to get this passed and put us on a long-term viability to offer steps each year and give the teachers some stability, then I'm all in. And congrats to the Abea and all their hard work on this as well. So I don't think there's any negatives here. We just want to make sure that we're making sure we're good stewards of the residents' money and just know we're doing the best we can. And thanks to everybody. So.
Say one more additional comment too, is that we're taking care of the teachers here. I'm working on the administrators, but we have a lot of other employees in the districts have sacrificed, and we're hopeful, as we discussed, that we want to make sure that the next step after these contracts is that we do provide similar or comparable compensation to all the non-instructional and other employees in the district. That's going to be just as important.
Any others? All right, go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Moses?
Yes.
Ms. Brookmeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Mr. Drew?
Yes.
Mr. Middlestat?
Abstain.
Ms. Knox, yes.
Okay, motion passes. Congratulations. And other than that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.